I somehow managed to read 21 books in April. Hi, I'm Ashley and I'm a book addict, so let's go through all the books I read in April. So April, I participated in Realmathon, which is a great readathon. I had so much fun. I was on Team Enya, and I can't wait for the next installment of this because I will definitely be doing it again. I absolutely loved it. I loved vlogging every day with you guys. It was so much fun. But across 21 books, I read just over 8,000 pages, and I had an average star rating of 3.88. So I had a really, really good reading month, and I can't wait to talk about all these with you. First book I read was Daughter of the Drowned Empire by Frankie Diane Malice, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This is about Liriana, and when you get to a certain age in this world, you have to go through this kind of like magical test to see what your magical powers would be. And everyone has magical power. There are some, though, that are forbidden, and basically if they are discovered that you have them, you are put to death. When Liriana goes and does this test, they actually discover that she has absolutely no magic whatsoever. So they threaten exile, but instead she decides to join her kingdom's warriors. And she has to do it as a human, which is something unheard of, never before done. And she is being trained by a guy that she doesn't particularly like, but the feelings grow. I absolutely love this. I devoured it. I read it within the first few days of April. I love it. The cover is so cool. It's not focusing on it, but I love the cover. It was a great story. It was a little bit slow with the world building, but towards the end it really, really picks up. I need to buy the rest of the series. I think it's going to be like a 6-book series, which is insane, but I'm here for every single second of it. I cannot wait to get the next book. Next, I read Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This is about Karina, who is kind of a workaholic. She focuses on her career and herself, which I think is a good thing. But her dad, her sister, and her aunties do not agree. So she makes a deal with her dad that instead of selling the house to a random person, he would give the house to her if she can get engaged within, I think it was 6 months. And she meets Dr. Prem Verma, who had a little falling out. She basically insulted him on public television. And they decide to fake date to appease all of their aunties. And it was just so good. It was so cute. I loved it. I love the characters. I love how you get to see them grow and learn to compromise. That was definitely one of my favorite parts of this book, but I highly recommend this romance. Next, I reread The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love this book. This is about Decca, who ceremony to become official member of her village. Instead of bleeding red, she bleeds gold, which means she is I can't remember the name, Alaki. She is an Alaki. Everyone looks down on them. They're basically seen as scum of the earth. So a woman comes and offers to take her to be part of a warrior group fighting for the emperor, and she agrees because she really doesn't have any other choice. It's either that or just be killed over and over again until they find her true death. And this book goes into so much more than that. It's found family. It's learning to stand up for yourself. It is learning to accept yourself. It's such a great series. I read the second one this month too, and I'll talk about that in a sec. I just absolutely loved it. I couldn't put it down. I listened to the audiobook this time around, and the audiobook was just amazing. I highly recommend listening to it that way. It was just so good. Such a great fantasy read. And while we're talking about the series, I read the sequel, which is The Merciless Ones, and that one just picks up right where this first book left off, and it gets even crazier. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. I read it so quickly. I just remember I was reading on my Kindle, and it said I had like 2 hours left, and I took that as a challenge. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna finish it in an hour. And I texted my boyfriend, I'm like, think I can finish this by midnight? He's like, you're insane. I'm like, okay, but I did it. It was so good. I couldn't put it down. This one expands on the world so much, and I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to give anything away, but it gets absolutely crazy. I couldn't believe what was happening. Like, I need the 3rd book right now, and I really hope the 3rd book is still going to be published because, like, there's not even a title released yet. I need it because it's amazing, and I'm addicted to this world and Decca and her found family. I love it. Next, I read The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by S.A. Chakraborty, and I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It is about a woman who has given up her pirate existence because she now has a daughter that she needs to raise and take care of. One day, a woman comes and asks her to find her granddaughter who went missing, and she kind of has no choice but to accept. So Amina goes and rounds up her former crew, and they go on this amazing pirate fantasy adventure to save this girl and do a couple other things. It was an amazing read. I absolutely loved it. The characters are amazing. This is another great found family book, which is one of my favorite tropes ever. I love found families so much. I loved the writing in this. I thought it was just absolutely breathtaking and beautiful. The plot just moves so quickly, and it was just so easy to devour the entire book. If you haven't read this, please just go read it. Next, I read Malice by Heather Walters, and this is about Alice, who is kind of like a dark fairy. She's like kind of this world's version of Maleficent. This is a Sleeping Beauty retelling. And in this world, Aurora, her entire family, all the women in it, are cursed to find their true love by a certain day, like by a certain birthday, and if they don't, they die. And true love's kiss is the only thing that can keep them from dying. So Alice, she's shunned from society. They just kind of deal with her. She discovers more about her powers while also getting close to Aurora, and they work together to try to break Aurora's curse to save her life. This book was so good. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's my new favorite fantasy retelling, like fairy tale retelling ever. It was just so fun to read and so insane, and you see characters develop in such a way that you're in awe. I couldn't put it down. I read it within like 2 days. It was just, the characters are amazing. Alice, where she got to by the end of this book was insane with her character development and the road that she's taking, and I actually have the second one behind me somewhere. I can't wait to read the second book. It's a duology, because I need to know what happens to Alice next. Like, what is going to happen to her? The plot gets even deeper than what I'm saying, but I highly, highly recommend this. Next, I read Wings, Once Cursed and Bound by Piper J. Drake, and Sourcebooks was kind enough to send me this copy, so thank you, Sourcebooks. I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. This is a fantasy paranormal romance about Paraffin, who is a Thai bird princess, and she accidentally puts on some cursed dancing shoes, and she ends up, what's his name? Bennett Andrews ends up helping her to escape this curse, and it's a romance, so obviously there's some romance in here. This book, I had fun reading it. I expected more from it because of how hyped up I hyped it up in my head a bit too much, I think. It was just, the romance moved a bit too fast for me. Like, it kind of seemed a little insta-lovey, even though they kind of resist each other at first. I would just wanted to see their romance develop much more on a deeper level than it did. I did enjoy the plot of the whole cursed shoes. It reminded me of an episode of Supernatural, which I absolutely love. This cover is gorgeous. It's what drew me into the book in the first place. It's a fun paranormal romance. I definitely do want to continue on in the series and see where it goes, because there's like a cool like secret society they're part of that protects the world from like cursed objects and magic and stuff. So I want to see if they do more with that. So I do recommend this. I really did enjoy it. Next, I read the entire Forest of Stars trilogy by Lindsay Hall, and this is about a girl who, she's just trying to figure out what happened to her parents, and in the process gets kidnapped by a fae prince and is told that she has to take part in a competition to become his queen. But she is human, and they don't know that she's human, and if they find out, they will kill her. So she has to kind of navigate this fae world on her own. I gave the first book 4 out of 5 stars, and the second book, which is Kiss of Shadows, and the third book, Crown of Starlight, each 3 stars. The first book, It was very entertaining. There were a lot of fairy tale aspects in this, like especially during the end trial. There was like Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, Snow White. Like it pulled aspects from that, which I really enjoyed. That was my favorite part. The second and third book kind of moved a bit too quickly for me. I just needed the plot to be slowed down a little bit and flushed out much more because it just all seemed a little bit rushed. Like the final battle scene was only like a couple pages, and I'm a big fantasy reader. So I need a nice epic final battle scene, and I didn't get that. But it is a very enjoyable trilogy. It is a quick read. All the books I think are 300 pages or less, and they are all on Kindle Unlimited if you're interested. Next, I read Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, and this is about Tate and Miles. Tate moves in with her brother, and his best friend Miles lives across the hall, and they are instantly attracted to each other. They kind of start this situationship type thing, no strings attached, and obviously Tate, she wants more. She wants to know why Miles can't be in a relationship, what his baggage is, I guess, and it's just about their relationship. I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. I did not like it. It really bugged me. You get Miles' story and why he is the way he is throughout the book. Like there's like the Tate chapters, and then there's Miles 6 years before chapters. And it was just so drawn out and so frustrating that it just took me out of the story. The characters were just kind of stupid. Colleen Hoover books are hit or miss for me, and this one was just a miss. Next, I read Hunterland by Dana Clare, and this is about the Hunt family who basically hunt monsters and keep the world safe from things that go bump in the night. There's a dad and then 2 kids, a son and a daughter, and they travel around in a very distinctive car. Very supernaturally. They go to this one town that has had teachers mysteriously and suspiciously committing suicide, but they know it's not suicide. And they go to figure out what is killing these teachers and what is going on. And while they're there, they meet Olivia Davis and her family, and she finds out that these monsters are real, and she wants to help defeat them in her town and save her town. I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. I got this from Unplugged Book Box, so like the edges are sprayed, and oh, you gotta see under the dust jacket. It's gorgeous. Definitely one of the prettiest books that I own now. It was a lot of fun. Just the fact that it was so similar to Supernatural, like the TV show, really threw me off because I was just thinking, oh, this is basically just like Sam and Dean. I get it's very inspired by it, but like it could have been switched up a little bit. Like it didn't need to be a dad and 2 kids traveling in a very distinctive car. I did enjoy the story. I love the characters. Some of the characters were a bit annoying, but they're supposed to be annoying, so it's fine. And it was a fun read. It was a fun and a quick read. I highly recommend it. If you like Supernatural, I don't think I'll be continuing on with the series just because I know there are better Supernatural books out there that I will like more, but it was still a fun and enjoyable read. So I read The Inheritance Games and The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I loved both these books. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars and this one 5 out of 5 stars. So The Inheritance Game is about Avery, who gets called to a will reading because apparently this billionaire left her basically everything in his will. But the catch is she has to stay in the Hawthorne house for a year with the entire Hawthorne family. And the house is filled with puzzles, secret passageways, everything, because that's just what the billionaire loves. And she has to deal with the 4 Hawthorne sons. And I love them. The Hawthorne brothers are my favorite. I will protect them at all costs. Jamie is definitely my favorite. My second favorite is Grayson. Oh god, but I love Xander too. Nash is just kind of there. But it was a really fun read. The only reason this one wasn't 5 stars because I think one of the big reveals at the end was very, very obvious. And I guessed it extremely quickly. So that one, I just wasn't a fan of. This one, I did not guess a single thing in this one. Everything was a shock. Everything was a surprise. I loved it. I cannot wait to get the next book and read it. And everyone, if you haven't read this series, you probably have. It's a very popular, hyped up series. But if you haven't, go read it. I read Travis by Kaylee Clark, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It is a romance that takes place at a winery. So Travis and his entire family, they own this winery, and there's also a brewery that they own too. And he lives in his own place, and next door moves in this one girl, Claire, who has no idea what she's doing. So Claire basically got kicked out of her house because she is an heiress, and her grandfather wants to teach her responsibility. So he basically told her, like, you have to go out, find your own place, buy your own things, get a job, learn how to live like a normal human, basically. And she is hiding that from Travis. Travis and Claire, they butt heads a little bit at first, but then they develop this great friendship that turns into a little bit more. Claire learns how to bake and start a bakery business, and Travis helps her. This book was just so adorable, so heartwarming. I really enjoyed reading it. I read it so quickly, which I'm really shocked because, like, it's very, very small print. Very small print. But it was so much fun. I loved seeing the character development of Claire. Like, she went from this spoiled little rich girl to actually knowing how to take care of herself and caring about others. So if you want, like, a nice romance at a winery, I highly suggest this one. Next, I read Blood of Zeus. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. I didn't like it. Nick Alley gave this book to me in exchange for a review and everything, and I didn't like it. I don't even remember the characters' names. It's about a girl who is in college, and her family, they're kind of like known celebrities and like reality stars and everything, and people look down on her family. They think they're just a bunch of spoiled little rich kids, and they don't care about anyone but themselves. But the main character does care, and she just wants a normal life. And so she goes to college, and she meets the professor, and the professor and her instantly have attraction to each other, and then it kind of goes from there. And the main character, she is a demon, and the main guy professor is a certain thing that you're supposed to be shocked by, but the title gives it away. Yeah, this book was like a whole lot of nothing. There was like really no plot going on. That's why I have such a hard time describing it. Like, nothing really happened until like the last 10 pages of the book. I didn't like the characters. I thought they were really annoying. The main girl just keeps repeating "I am a demon" in her head to herself, like, constantly, and I was just like, okay, we get it. Yeah, so not my favorite. Next, I read Graceland by Kristen Cashore, and this is a young adult fantasy. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This is about Casta, who is the niece of the king, but she has been graced with the gift of killing. So in this world, there are people who are graced. They are born with a gray eye and a green eye. It's either gray and blue or gray and green. I can't remember. 2 different color eyes, basically. And they basically have a special gift. So the main character, she is gifted with killing. Like, she's very good at it. So she basically just becomes the king's thug, and then this one prince, Poe, comes to their kingdom as a visitor, and she starts to spar with him. They start to get close, and they develop a great friendship, and it might turn into a little bit more. But she also, with the help of him, learns more about herself and more about her gift. This book was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of like a classic YA fantasy at this point. Everyone has read it. I think the author has started doing more books in the series, even though it's been like 5 to 10 years or something. Each book is kind of like its own standalone story, but you have to read them in order, I think. So this book, I loved it. It was very slow the first half of the book because it was just setting everything up and getting all the pieces where they needed to be, but the second half really picked up. I really liked how the battle scenes were described in this. I love just the idea people are graced with gifts, and it's kind of like open to interpretation what your grace means and what your gift means. It was really, really good. I highly recommend it. Next, I listened to Bow Before the Elf Queen by J.M. Curl, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It was so good. The audiobook has a male and female narrator, so it separates between the 2 main characters' points of view very well and very distinctively because of that, so it was very easy to follow along with. This is about Leala, and she her parents were killed basically right near her birth because she was discovered to be an elf that had magic, and that has not happened in many, many years. So her Aunt Evelyn, that's what she calls her, kind of takes her away, hides her in a town full of humans, and she grows up there. But she is, on the day that it was revealed that she had magic, she was bonded to the prince, Prince Thane, and he's kind of like hunting for her to bring her back so they can finally be bonded and rule the kingdom. But Leala does not want to go, and she will go kicking and screaming. The plot goes a lot deeper than that and gets a lot more insane. I'm really bad at describing fantasy novels sometimes, but trust me, this one is amazing. I'm listening to the second book right now, and I'm loving it even more than the first book. This book, I love seeing relationships develop so much. Is part of why I love reading, because you get to see characters grow and become more of themselves and be more humble and willing to open their heart and their arms to people. And that's like the case with Leala and Thane. It was just, I love it. And there is a lot of side characters that are amazing this. My favorite is Tiff, who is a little gnome, and she is precious and sassy and hysterical. Like, her parts in the book, I am actually laughing out loud. And I listen to this when I go on walks in public, and I just laugh out loud. And people look at me like I'm psycho. But I highly suggest this duology. I'm more than halfway done with the second one, and I'm loving it. Okay, we got 3 more books to go. Next up is The Nanny by Lana Ferguson, and this is about Cassie, who gets laid off, and she used to do OnlyFans, and then she stopped it because a certain thing happened with a guy on it, and she kind of got her heart broken. And so she actually like got a full-time job with her degree that she's still continuing to get in the novel, but they were downsizing, so they laid her off. And she ends up getting hired by this one guy to be a nanny for his daughter. And then Cassie discovers that the guy was her biggest supporter on OnlyFans. It was amazing. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this so much. This was another one where like the relationships were amazing. Like seeing Cassie develop the relationship with the daughter. She's like the only one who can get through to the daughter. It was very heartwarming and very cute. There were so many spicy scenes in this. So many. And they were so good. Like, I was just blown away. I loved every single word of this book, and I highly suggest this. It's my new favorite romance ever. Also, the concept is just hilarious. But yeah, go read this book. Next, I read Bad Girl Reputation by Elle Kennedy, and this one is the second in the series, and it focuses on Evan and Jen. It is a second chance romance. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So Jen comes back to town when her mother dies and instantly reconnects with Evan, but she's also turning a new leaf. She doesn't really drink anymore. She doesn't break the law anymore. Like, her and Evan, when they were together, got into so much trouble, to the point where she ended up leaving town without saying goodbye to him. So she comes back, and Evan realizes if he wants the love of his life back, he has to become a changed man. And so both of them are changing who they are, becoming more mature, becoming better people, and kind of like rekindling their love and falling in love all over again with these new versions of themselves. It was very sweet. It was very cute. The spicy scenes were a bit repetitive, which was kind of annoying, kept it from being a 5 out of 5 stars. But I really, really enjoyed this one. I highly suggest it. I can't wait to read the 3rd one in the series. I think it's the last one. I think. And the last and final book I read was Game of Strength and Storm by Rachel Menard. This is a YA fantasy. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I love this. I saw it on the shelf in my library and decided to just pick it up on the whim because I thought the cover looked kind of cool. I'm so happy I did because it is amazing. So this is about Jen and Castor, and they both are put into this lottery and get selected to get a wish from the Empresses. And as a result, in order for them to get their wish, they have to be in this competition and against each other, and whoever completes the most tasks in the competition wins their wish, and the other doesn't. And you also get Pollux's point of view in this, and he is Castor's brother, but he's on Team Jen. It was such a great fantasy read. There's a lot of Greek mythology elements in this without the entire book being taken over by it, which I really liked. I thought that was really cool because, like, usually with Greek mythology books, it's like that's the entire focus of the book. This one wasn't that case, so I thought it was really interesting. I really like the magic in this. Jen, she is a mind walker. So she basically, like, if she, like, spits, bleeds, puts her hair on a creature, she can kind of control them and speak to them in her mind, which was really cool, and I just really like that power. And she has, like, this infinity whale that she travels the seas in. I love it. And Castor, she is part of a magical group that can, like, control and harness storms like wind, rain, and lightning. They can't create it out of thin air, but they bottle it up and use that to control it, which is really interesting. I like how their magic is very limited. It makes it harder for them to achieve their goal, and it makes them stronger. But this was a great book. I already requested the sequel from my library because I am obsessed. It was just so much fun. I read it all in one day. I love the relationships in this. I love the magic in this and the adventure. It was just such a fun read. Okay, so that is my entire April wrap up. 21 books, 8,000 pages. I read a lot. That's the most amount of pages I've read in a month so far this year. It was a good month. It was a really good month. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys all later.